welcome to the Hot Dog Stand Podcast. I am your executive producer, Kyle Pendergraft, driver of the 14 iRock car.
I'm Brian McCann, driver of the number 3.
I'm Neil Quick, driver of the number 2 Spartan Transportation LLC Camaro out of Fenton, Missouri.
I'm Brian Rick, driver of number 11 R&R Raceware sponsored Chevrolet.
Alrighty. Well, we have a special guest to announce here in a minute, but before we do that, let's hear from our presenting sponsor, Spartan Transportation.
Spartan Transportation and Spartan Logistic Management is your one source for all your shipping needs. 53-foot dry van shipments, auto transport shipments, full-service in-house brokerage, drop-lot facilities, just-in-time deliveries to all auto manufacturers, facilities in St. Louis, Missouri, Kansas City, Missouri, and Indianapolis, Indiana. Spartan Logistics LLC, proud sponsor of the iRock Series, Kyle Steffens UMP Modified and Silver Crown driver, and Gordy Gundaker, World of Outlaws late model. Visit us at spartan-logistics.net or find us on Facebook.
Alrighty, guys, we are back. So we want to announce a very special guest to us. No one other than Bobby Hamilton Jr. himself. Let's play a little intro about him real quick.
Hi, I'm Bobby Hamilton Jr., driver of the 25 Smithfield Ford.
Crowds on their feet, the checker flag flies his second career victory here in Kentucky. And it is 96 start. Bobby Hamilton Jr. is the Busch Series winner.
Nascar. Couldn't tame Bobby Hamilton Jr.
Yeah, we run with the restrictor plate on all the time, I guess, now.
Alrighty, y'all. So before we get into our interview with Bobby, though, we do want to touch briefly on our upcoming race at Talladega. One of you guys want to go ahead and take over there?
Yeah, I can start with that one. I'm sure everybody's about ready to cringe because they know the way I feel about restrictor plate racing. No, again, looking forward to this week. It's not always my best fit, but I enjoy racing with a lot of guys out there. But I definitely look for our restrictor plate ringers definitely to be up there. I mean, you got the McCann twins up there. He'll be running good, and Chris Wally runs good, and got some of those other guys that'll be tough this week. But it's a wild card for whoever can win and pull it off. Lock themselves in the playoffs too. What do you think, Brian?
I was hoping Wally would be here. I was going to try to convince him to see if we can run open setups this week so we can play with that tape a little bit.
Yeah. No, it's we're all kind of missing Chris tonight, but I would agree with you 100%. But it's a lot of luck out there. Thursday night will be definitely restrictor plate racing, though.
Man, if it's better than the actual NASCAR race today, then I think we'll be doing good. So I'm looking forward to it. Just what happens, like you said, it's a wild card.
Yeah, I know from Daytona, and Brian probably could agree with these. I mean, it's in these Xfinity cars that we switched over to this year on the restrictor plate. It's quite a chore to kind of pass. You can kind of stall out each other. Yeah. Pretty good racing each other side by side. But I mean, definitely the action will be there, and you'll have a lot of side by side racing. And hopefully, with what we saw at Daytona, I think you'll see a lot of good racing there at the end. It could be a little bit rough, but I'm sure everybody's going to be trying to put it on the line and get themselves locked in the playoffs.
Get that third line moving.
Yeah, that high side, that Chris Wally line.
The Chris Wally line, yep. Miss you, buddy.
Yeah,
I mean, we've had a good field of cars, and we've averaging 37, 38 cars a race so far. So that many cars at Talladega is going to be it's going to be a show. So we just all need to mind our P's and Q's and not try to win her on the first lap.
No, I definitely agree with you guys. It'll be interesting to see, and it could be a big surprise winner that night too.
Me, I need one.
Get yourself locked into those playoffs.
You know
somebody else out there.
You know it.
So, Yeah, absolutely. That kind of leads into a little bit of that race today. I mean, I'm sure all of us, we were all kind of glued to it, and I'm sure we all got our opinions of it, but I hope we don't have something like that.
It was crazy.
Yeah, it was. A lot of cars were up today, so. But,
All of them.
Yeah. There wasn't many cars being put back on the trailer in one piece, that's for sure.
I agree.
Well, let's not keep our guest here waiting any longer than what he's been waiting already. Bobby Hamilton, give us a little rundown about who you are, sir.
Just me. I've ran everything: super late models, ARCA, trucks, Cup. Back in my day, as Bush Series, and a little bit of everything. I race now and so forth. So it's it's funny hearing all that stuff, the intro, and you think, and it doesn't seem this, because I'm sitting here thinking, oh, I remember doing that, but that stuff is like 2003, 2004, and I'm like, good Lord, I'm old. So, but I mean, it's amazing how time flies, and but still lucky here, we're still talking about it. So,
hey Bobby, man, thanks for being with us. Really looking forward to diving into who you are and what you've done, but I pulled up some stats. Wikipedia. Is that how you say it? Wikipedia? I think that's right. You ran 64 Cup races, 253 Bush races, 5 wins, 63 top 10s, 4 poles in Bush, 37 truck races, 11 top 10s, 2 poles. Your first win is in 2002 at Loudon. Your last win was at Phoenix at 2003. There's a lot of stories in all them laps, man. We're anxious to hear about you.
Yeah, it goes back a long way. I mean, it's it's crazy to where, as growing through the racing channels and everything, you start with your local stuff, and you get to this, and you get to that, and you get to that, and the crazy thing about that whole NASCAR wheel is it's as simple as 2 or 3 years you're just on top of the world and you don't change anything. Then 2 or 3 years after that, you're trying to hang on, because it just keeps revolving and people get faster and faster and faster. And but yeah, so many years, so many memories. My family's always done it since '91 professionally, and but it's like I was saying earlier, it's just amazing how fast 15, 20 years go by you.
Man, you ain't wrong there. You are not wrong there. Neil, I think you got a question?
Yeah, I just kind of like go back and a little bit kind of expand on Bobby's career and kind of how it started, and kind of when he was younger, coming from a racing family. Talk about some of the key people that were key and instrumental in him getting the opportunity to race, and start from the bottom and kind of work your way up, progress, kind of a timeline.
Yeah, well, how it basically started was I played baseball all through school. Like I met with several recruiters to go to college ball and play and stuff, and of course, me being stupid, I decided to go racing instead. And when I went and done that, I started locally. And after I got to the point of where I quit tearing stuff up, my dad started putting me on the road. A lot of people were telling them, let him just run at a local track and learn. But he wanted me out on the road. So he about 7 of my friends who were just 18, and I think we had a 21-year-old in the group that we could get motel rooms with, that he could get us and stuff like that, rental cars and stuff. And but we would travel from track to track, leave out on Wednesdays, run somewhere Thursday night, run somewhere Friday night, somewhere Saturday night, somewhere Sunday, come home, fix cars or so forth, and go right back on the road. And I think that was a turning point as far as getting it to where other people was kind of interested. And don't get me wrong, my dad opened the doors because he was already in the Cup Series and stuff like that. But he was real big about like, yep, here's the pond, put your foot in there and good luck, and just shoving you out there. You know, and
What were you running at that point?
At the time I was running, it was Southern All Star, which was basically a super late model with unlimited motors.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, we were weighing 2,300 pounds, and I had a Hendrick motor that we went and ran everywhere. So we'd have like 750 horsepower on a super late model running New Smyrna, places like that, Myrtle Beach, where you couldn't even touch the throttle anyway, and I thought at the time was for what? I'm thinking this is so stupid. You're never going to learn anything here. But all those years of running those tracks where you're just barely touching the throttle, you're just so easy on the throttle, you act like you're walking on eggshells, and you get in those bush cars or ARCA cars or trucks and stuff like on those slick tracks, all of that stuff starts coming back to you, and you learn how to do this and that. And I tell people, it's like my dad had a plan and a timeline of where he wanted to be, where he wanted me to be. And, fortunate enough, like I said, the door was open and I walked through. I didn't do anything dumb. I stayed out of trouble. No babies on the side. I just stayed out of trouble, focused, and survived for a little while.
I got a question for him real quick. Going back to that and the same thing. I mean, running Southern All Stars and late models, stuff like that. Is there a win before you got into your NASCAR side of things, getting in trucks and Busch Series and stuff like that? Is there a win that stuck out in your memory that was memorable, that kind of said, yeah, I'm here, I can do this?
Yeah, Dick Anderson. I don't know how many of y'all know about Dick Anderson, Freddie Query, and Mike Cope.
Yeah, Freddie Query. Yep.
Yeah, those guys, they were running at a I-70 speed. Mike Garvey was there. There's a bunch of these guys that were running there, and we showed up. And the crazy part about it, I've never seen this racetrack. We showed up, had no practice or anything, and Dick Anderson, which y'all might remember Wayne Anderson. He ran the Truck Series for a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
His dad was a monster at super late models back in the day in Florida. If you Google him, I mean, I'm telling you, he was a machine. And that night, I don't know what it is I took. I don't know why, but I just fell into that place, and I just had a feel for that place, and it was just, and I left there, and I was 17 years old. I left there, and we beat those guys. And I'm not going to lie. I mean, we were cheating and shit. I mean, that's like anything else. I was thinking, well, at least the fans got to see me beat them, and we'll get through we'll get thrown out or whatever. But we passed, and I was like, so I can leave with the trophy? Like, yeah, here's the pay. So we was hurry up and loading up before they changed their mind or whatever. But when I left there, when I looked in the mirror and I seen the rundown of the payout and stuff, I was like, golly, those were legends, and they're still legends. And we beat them that night. So I knew right then, I was like, okay, my confidence level went from here to where I'm just average to where I can go to in these places and win. Because when you beat those guys, I mean, to me, that was something special. I mean, and they raced up front every week. I mean, lapping cars every week, winning all these short track races, snowball derbies, All-American 400s and stuff. And then my little old crew beat those guys. So that was the very first step as far as I can do this.
Well, and coming back to that, I mean, I-70, and that's Odessa, correct? Kind of a high bank, rough.
Right.
Kind of got a little bit of that fairgrounds feel to it. Maybe a little bit faster, or about the same.
Yeah, and it was like, it kind of reminds you of a Bristol type. You just fall off into the, kind of like a Dover. You fall off into the corner.
Yep.
Car loads up, and as soon as it loads up, you're just back in the gas. And for some reason, I just fell into that place. And but it did teach me, driving those cars is why, and there's a couple of these guys that are out here now that are driving super late models, and I think it taught them bad habits, because I did get in the habit, and it did cost me several races in bush races, trucks, and stuff like that, of I got to feel that car drop, get in, and get on the right rear, then just mat it and just wheel it off. In those heavy cars, you couldn't do that. So I learned a few bad habits that it was hard to get out of, and it was hard to get that feel again in like a Busch car or an ARCA car or a truck, because you always remember that feel. And like, if I could just get it to do this, well, physics ain't going to let you do it. Yeah. You can go in like that. You're just not going to come out. It's going to be a rear clip or a front clip, So, I mean, it was real important to get in there, make a splash, and get out. because you do learn bad habits that's not going to cater to the heavier cars. So, that was, and I think my dad seen it because I really started enjoying super late models then because you could just drive the heck out of them. And then he was like, all right, time to get out of those, So, like I said, he had a plan.
You see a lot of guys, a lot of the newer guys that are out there now. I mean, whether it's William Byron and you throw them out there with the guys that are very successful at the late model, super late model ranks, Bubba Pollard, stuff like that. And some of those guys can't really make the transition to the heavier cars. And it's interesting to hear you talk like that because I've heard that so many times over the years from different drivers. And kind of like your father and the guys that get interviewed, that would talk about the transition from a super late model, a lighter base car to the heavier car, and being able to drive both of them. So that's pretty cool to hear that stuff and kind of hear you talk about it and the transition and learning how to drive them.
Well, the biggest problem you would have is the late models, you run off the right rear all day long.
Yep.
Because that was the fastest way around. Well, in a cup car, truck, or any of that, the guy behind you is going to use air on you. He's going to move you with the air. He's going to get to your left rear to make you loose. He's going to get to your right rear to make you tight. I mean, he's going to do all this stuff. Well, the all four tires have got to work for your truck, car, whatever, to benefit, to make it fast. So I think what happens is they get to that feel that they can never find, because I was about to there. You get to that feel you can't never find over on these in these heavy cars because they're heavy. You have to drive off the right front in those things to make them fast, because if you don't, you're going to wreck.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So to touch on that, I mean, I got a dirt racing background, right? And that is 100% feel. The car, like you said, the car dumps over on the right. At that point to go ahead and lay back it in the throttle. So when you moved over to trucks or to cup or whatever, what was the feel? I mean, how did you? I know the transition is, like you just said, is much different. But what is there a point that you felt? I mean, tell me about that. I mean, what was the pickup point?
The very first race that I had, or the very first test session I had, was at Charlotte Motor Speedway in ARCA car. I drive for Sadler Brothers, Earl Sadler. That was the same team that Jeremy Mayfield started with, the 95 car, Davey Allison.
Right.
All those guys started with Earl Sadler. Michael Waltrip, I mean, this guy he always gave everybody the first shot. And we went to Charlotte. And believe it or not, you look at those cars and you think, how in the world do they stick? Because when you look at them, the tires are so hard.
Yeah.
The cars are, like a super late model's like that far off the ground, and these things are 7 or 8 inches. You're thinking, man, we're going to fly plumb off into 3 and go. It's never going to turn. And it fools you. And it's not so much as the chassis, it's just the aero. So I learned right off the bat that I wanted a free chassis, but I had to have that feel of the air catching me. Like I could feel it turn, but the air had to catch me for me to feel comfortable.
So it was air that you felt, right?
Right.
So it wasn't,
it was totally something different, because it was almost like, oh, I'm spinning out. Oh,
There,
just grab
there
it.
it caught,
There it
right.
caught
Then
me.
that was your cue.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right. So then it just kept. Now they had a ton of wedge in this thing and a track bar buried. That way I couldn't fence it right off. And at the time I was working at the shop, and I didn't want to fence it because it was going to be my ass having to work on it all night long.
Right,
I was
you're
like,
gonna hang new fenders on it.
Yeah.
Yep, I get it.
I was taking my time, trust me. And then I just kept getting faster and faster and faster. But I was getting tighter because we all had all the wedge and everything. So we took all that stuff out and we got the track bar up. And we went, Frank Kimmel was the man at that time. And we went straight to the top of the board. And everybody was like, what's the deal? And I just fell in love with that feel of the free and the air catches you. And then it was like you could just, in my mind, I kept saying, I can go harder, faster, because air is going to catch me. And it was simple as moving a spoiler over. It was as simple as putting just a couple rounds in and getting the spoiler up. And, I mean, it was all these things that you couldn't do in a super late model.
Yeah.
And once I got that feel, and like now, the last time I ran a super late model, now, yes, we did win. But let me tell you, a monkey could have drove that car. When that thing was so cheated up, I mean, it was so crazy. Anybody could have won. Now,
What was it? Tell us what it was. What?
I don't care. I ain't racing no more, so I'll tell you. It was.
Everybody's getting their notebooks out on this one, too.
We had a Frankie Grill house car, and We had a Randy Dorton motor. We had Mercury in the center frame that would shift 32 pounds of Mercury to the left. So we basically had almost, I think it was 15.5% more left side than anybody.
That's a ton, 32 pounds. That's
Yeah.
a lot.
And then we had a track bar adjustment on the right side with the button. So I'm sitting here just running, and on top of it, and then we came up with, we had these bleeders in the tires because you weren't allowed to have bleeders on these late models. So what we done is sent them off to somewhere in Canada, and they took the valve stem and put balls in the back of the valve stem. So when the air would get hot, it would push that ball out, and it would it would keep it, it would bleed air. So lap 50, when everybody else was doing this or they were doing this, I mean, it was just like literally one hand driving. And then it was crazy because if all they had to do was shut up, they would have caught me, because when I was so excited because I knew it was my last race. I was like, I'm done with this shit. I'm just going to park. I mean, we end with the race and blah, blah, blah. So we come in and everybody's just standing around and talking, but I'm just like, oh shit, I got to switch this Mercury back. And you could hear it. Yeah. I was like, shit. But it went across scales, and I was like, I think I was like 1% to the good, and there's like, how in the hell, and actually my dad took that car to the fairgrounds and ran a super late model race with all that crap and killed them. And
that's great.
We had 4 left side tires on his car because the left sides were stickier than the right sides. So all we done is put left sides on the right sides and left side on left sides and pumped up the air like double than what it's supposed to be in the left sides. And of course, my dad being in the NASCAR world and me being in the NASCAR world, so we called Hoosier and told them what we were doing. They were like, we're not supposed to tell you that, but just double the air and it'll be fine. So I mean, he did the same thing. He murdered them there and everything. But hey, let me tell you, if you're not pushing the envelope, you're not winning. I mean, I hate to say it.
I'm gonna ask that, and I think that Brian McCann's got you next. But
well, it's ironic because I mean we say week to week, Brian McCann's cheating. So there it is. I mean, it's out there.
How much is that really going on in the NASCAR world back then and today? Speculation, of course. Nobody knows anything, but I mean, they've got to be. It's got to be happening. Is it stories like what you just said? I mean, we've heard Walter say the same thing. He's got buckshot in his frame rail and dumps it out. Is that kind of stuff going on now, you think?
Well, the difference back then is we always knew. I tell you what, this trophy right here, when I won Chicago, when I won Chicago, I mean, we lapped all the way up to 5th place.
Damn. And
we had some springs that we had made, and after so long and so much downforce on the springs, they gave out.
They gave up a little bit.
Yeah, they gave up a little bit. Yep. Yeah. So, but also too, we had a wedge bolt that would go in there and compress and put that, because we had a max on the rear springs we could run. So when it would go in the corner, it would go in there, compress just so much, and then then that wedge bolt will go down and push and add another 200 pounds. So where everybody else was kind of tight, my shit was just like this on the left front.
Yeah.
And I could just run that yellow line. And hell, I mean, if you listen to any of the YouTube stuff or watch it, you can listen to my car. Hell, I'm hardly ever out of the gas. But the difference was we knew once the TVs were off, we were safe.
Yeah.
They're not going to take anything from you. All they're going to do is fine you. And if you paid it, you paid it. If you didn't, well, I mean, they're not going to come chase you down for it. Now, they'll throw your ass out. So, it's a little bit different now than it was. And back in those days, I mean, there was no better trick than last year's trick, because everybody's bringing all this new stuff up. So people just quit looking for the older stuff. So you would go in there and just do, older stuff. I mean, we would, at like Talladega, Daytona, we would take charcoal balls. We had like charcoal made. There's literally like little bitty squares. And we would shove them up into springs. When you go through tech, they're right. So the minute you go out on the racetrack and start bouncing, you just crush.
They break it, yeah. Oh,
right.
That's cool.
Yeah, so then we go through tech, and they're like, how the hell was you low? It passed tech. I mean, we're going out. It was fine,
I got my sticker. We're good.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a million different things that we used to do that everybody did. And it just wasn't us. You had to, because it was,
Yeah.
let me tell you something. When you got people like Hendrick and Gibbs and everything, and you have a whole room of guys in little white coats trying to figure out how to make you go faster, you better figure it out, because they're going to beat you.
So that's happening. That's what I mean. You think it's still happening? There's guys in white coats in private rooms trying to figure these things out. And
yeah, well, now it's all computerized and stuff. So I mean,
Right.
and it's all, and right now it's all money. That's
Yeah.
all. That's all it is right now. If you got the money, I can buy you. I can buy you. I can buy you. I can buy you. I mean, if you got the money, I can steal you from another team.
Yeah.
You'll be like, man, I'm happy here. I make $70,000 here. I'll give you 100. Well,
Yeah.
your wife at home's going to tell you, well, get your ass.
You're going to go
across
get
the
that.
street. Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mine would,
You know,
for sure.
exactly.
And I
So-
would too. So
Yeah, so those big teams, that's how they do. It's always been a running joke in Charlotte that it was you didn't have a car problem, but you had the toolbox problem, because you see more toolboxes crossing the roads left and right because people are swapping jobs and going to different places because they wanted the talent, so they would just buy it. And
Yeah.
the big teams can buy it. Those little teams can't.
Yep. That's cool. That's cool. What you got, McCann?
So yeah, hey, if you had to pick out of your entire career one race, win or no win, doesn't matter, what was your favorite race?
My favorite race. This one's easy. I won Kentucky in 2000 and whatever. I can't remember. 2003, I think it was. And we were practicing, and I was passing a lap car. And Kentucky was typically a super grippy track. You run bottom and you just run around that yellow line to make all the time. I was passing a lap car, so I fired it in kind of on an arch, went through the center, but I was coming off the corner, letting it drift up to the wall, but I just stayed straight. But I got in the gas like 10 or 15 car lengths earlier, and I just drove straight to the wall. I got up to the wall, then I turned away from it. Well, my crew chief came on the radio and said, "Whoa, that was a 10th and a half, whatever you just did." So I went into 1 and did it there. Then I went into 3 and 4 and did it. He said, "Whatever you just did, that's 2/10." So we cut it off right there, and I was like, I just learned something. So during a race, we used that all night long, and we won the race. My dad has spent years teaching me all this different stuff about racing and so forth, and just about life in general. So I told him after the race what we were doing. Well, the truck series ran there that following year, and he called me out of the blue, and I was racing somewhere. And my wife handed me a phone. She said, "Your dad." I was like, "What's up?" And he was like, "Hey, remember how you were talking about through the center, on the throttle and driving straight?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "What was you doing?" I was like, "You just go in the corner, and it's like once you pull off the wall, just stay straight. Get the car to cock in there and just stay straight through there and never let out of throttle, and you'll gain 3 or 4 tenths on them through the center because you're not putting wheel into it. You're not having to drive it." So he said, "Okay." So he won that race, and he got out, and he even said it on TV that the reason he won that race and picked up so much is because I told him how to get around Kentucky.
That's
and
awesome.
And then when we got home, I was like, "Did you really use that?" He's like, "Oh, hell." He's putting his little in-car camera. He's like, "Listen to this thing." I mean, it was like wound up. I mean, it was just glowing. I told you that shit would work. So out of everything I've learned from my dad, it was like the only one thing that I could have said that, I taught him that. It was something that we shared, and it was opposite way. It was something that I gave to him to help him win, compared to it always being him giving me something.
That's valuable, man. I'm glad you have that. Definitely.
Bobby, actually, I've got a question for you, and I was actually there at that Kentucky win. That's my home track for me, so it's pretty neat to see there. But my question is for you: out of the trucks, the Busch Series, the Cup cars, who was your favorite driver of any of those series that just got there in the track and run with?
I really liked Shane Mill. He was
Wheelman.
yes, he was. He would do shit. You would get behind him like at Darlington, and you're thinking, "Oh, he's dead. He's done spun out," and that thing would be plumb sideways, tires smoking, and just and go off and just blow by you. I liked him. He took a minute to get used to. But I think one of my favorite people, I loved Buckshot. I liked talking to him because he was a normal guy. Randy LaJoy, he was a good one because he had no filter. So he kind of really blended in like with my type of people. And but looking back, I mean, it was, and the crazy thing about it is you look back and I can sit here and point to 15 different people and say, there was always something good about them. Now, I have a couple that I think should get hit by trains, but other than that, I mean,
well, that's what I wanted to ask.
You can say it.
Yeah, I got one punch in when I should have got about 50 on Landon Castle, and I said, if I ever see him again, I'm going to bust him in his fucking head. I cannot stand him. I mean, and this dude, we was, I could just look it up, and we were at Memphis, and he turned me, so I went down there and jerked one of that down, and I reached in and hit him, and then he was leaving the racetrack. He had a man purse and all this stuff. I was like, it's just, I can't deal with somebody like that, and that, but majority of everybody else was good people. They had their little flaws here and there, but they were still good people. And about the time that idiot came in is when it started getting to the point where I guess the DNA pool ran out somewhere along the line or something.
I think you hit it with Shane Meal, man. That dude could drive a stock car. I firmly believe the way you just described that he drove the asphalt cars because of his dirt background, and that, I mean, just fast. He was fast.
Well, it was crazy because Darlington would chew up tires. We all know that.
Yeah.
And you would think, okay, they said like, okay, 48's coming, and you're thinking he's gonna came and got tires, and he didn't. And he could just make up so much time on just sideways.
Yeah.
And it would work for him. And if I did that shit, it'd be a rear clip. I mean, it would be
Right.
something to side or something like that. So he just had a talent. I'm still friends with him on Facebook, and
Meal.
and it's crazy to see. I mean, I know he had bad luck, and I know he had that accident and everything, but he was definitely.
I still talk to him to the day.
I think he.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a funny story about him. He, he used to date one of the granddaughters of Walmart.
Shane?
Yeah.
Oh,
Shane.
you got to expand on this. I got to hate this.
Yes, and she was, and look, it was funny. This is, and you can, Randy LaJoy. They say the kind of funny.
Hey, write
Randy
this down.
LaJoy
We're getting
was
ready to
here.
have Randy on here, so
So Shane Mill, he was talking about it was the granddaughter. It was the daughter of one of the granddaughters. She was a knockout. She was a very, very pretty young lady, and he was dating her, and he was talking about he said, yeah, man, she's really fun, whatever, because we were all cutting up with him and saying, dude, if you're ever going to screw up, that is the one you need to knock up right there. You need to do that tonight. That way you're taken care of forever and blah, blah, blah. Well, then he got talking. He's like, man, she's really cool. He said, but I'm just telling you, he said, I got to have a girl with an ass. He said, she don't have none. Yeah. I was like, that's what you're worried about, dating her? And he's like, yeah. So Randy LaJoy was like, I tell you what you can do, stack a bunch of those hundreds on there and on her ass, and it'll be just fine. So I mean, it was, funny. But that was the thing about our group. We were all that group, and, Kevin Grubb, he was a good one. I mean, I know, he committed suicide or whatever, and Wayne Grubb, he works at Wayne. I mean, it was all just a good group of guys. Mike McLaughlin, those type of guys. They were all just good guys. Now, it's like I said, it's just, it's different.
It's different.
Yeah,
it's different. Hey, so I have a question, but we also have a viewer question here that kind of goes in with my question, and so I'm going to read mine, and then I'm going to read this viewer. It says, my question is, what was it like for you growing up? And you've kind of touched on this, and I know it's probably a little bit sentimental, but what's it like growing up the son of Bobby Hamilton, And then the viewer, just to catch you up here, Brandon Medford, he says he's raced with his dad his whole career, and one of the best moments he had was when it was racing with his dad, and so What was it like, man? What?
When I was in, it just kind of give you a long story short. When I was in school, it was really weird because he in 1991 he went cup racing.
Yeah.
And a lot of my friends were, dude, I seen your dad on TV.
Yeah.
To me, I was like, yeah. You know, because I didn't. It was like, and because this is the same guy that threw a pair of shoes at me because I didn't clean up my room. You know, I mean, this is the same guy that grounded me because I didn't take out the trash like I was supposed to. This is the same guy who was like, you know, you don't get your allowance this week because you didn't do shit. I mean, this is the same guy, that guy. I didn't see the guy on TV. I did, but that, you know, it was still my dad.
Yeah.
So it was the one thing that I did learn from him is we would go to his favorite was Waffle House and Cracker Barrel, so we would go to them like all the time. And no matter what, he just got through winning Rockingham or Talladega or whatever, he would go in there that next day, and you couldn't tell it. You couldn't tell it at all. You couldn't tell anything different about him. You couldn't tell him, you know, he was just a normal guy. That, I mean, he'll tell you, I was lucky. I got a break.
Yeah.
You know, and so it was real easy to be around him, and a lot of other people were just like thinking, you know, and he just won what, and I'm thinking, it's my dad. You know, this.
Yeah.
You know,
he's going to be on my ass tomorrow telling me to get the trash out. So
same guy who cussed me out because I ran out of gas, had to come over here and get me. I mean, it was, it was, yeah. I mean, a quick story. I was supposed to be home. I think it was 11. Don't hold me to it. It was like 11, right? So, and we had this big old long driveway. It was like forever long, but it was gravel. And my very first truck he gave me was a 1977 GMC truck. This thing was longer than my house. It was huge, but it only had one brake on the left rear. Yeah. So if I was like coming in hot, it would just slide because it had no brakes. I was coming in late one night and I was already running behind, and I was just starting to get into racing. So I was going down the driveway doing all this and slinging it, getting sideways, where I lost that damn thing and climbed a tree. And I thought I could put it in reverse and back up or whatever, but I was hung on the tree. And he sat down on that porch, and it was raining and shit. So he sat down on that porch, and I didn't know. He sat down there in the dark because it was late at night. Watch me run around, hook a chain to this, run back around, climb up back up in it. And this truck is like this. So I'm having to climb up in the bed, climb up in there, put it in reverse and spin and go forward and everything else. And, you know, I mean, he should have shot me in the face with a shotgun that night, but he didn't. So, I mean, he was just that guy. And, you know, I try to do the same thing with my daughter now, because sometimes I just think she needs to be taken to the tub and drowned sometimes because she does dumb shit. But at the same time, you know, I just look at it as I did the same stuff. So I tried to bring what he taught me into my house every day.
That's good stuff, man. That's definitely good stuff.
I got. Go ahead, Neil.
Yeah, I just kind of want to. I know Bobby's. We're talking about his real racing experiences and stuff like that. And as all of us are, we do the shows based around the Sim 2 here with iRacing, and Bobby's a very avid iRacing competitor out there, and he's been doing it for a while. And just like to get some feedback from him about the Sim, and the same questions basically. Guys that he raced with, guys that he races harder than some of the other guys, some of that type of stuff, and but just get some feedback from him. I know he's currently doing some racing on the Sim, and just kind of get an update of what he's doing and what he thinks of iRacing compared to the real world experience.
I think when you have a VR on the iRacing, I tell people this all the time, it's as close as you're ever going to see it in any of those racing vehicles if you're not a racer. Cup cars, trucks, whatever, because when you look around, all the detail and how they scan those cars, I've raced plenty of those games, and I tell people, I say, you're never going to be as close as you are till you're in with the VR. Now, I don't like racing the VR for some reason. I slow down when I put it on. I don't know why. I don't know what that's about. When I took the VR off and got me the bigger screen, I was faster. view wise, there's nothing. I mean, it's as identical as you can want to get. Track wise, all that type of stuff. The only thing with the setup stuff, the shocks are broken as far as they don't work right. Springs don't work right sometimes as far as like your aero and stuff like that. And tire wear, that kills me because the tires in iRacing is about 10 laps. And Neil, he's one of the best ones I've seen as far as saving tires because you don't even see him the race. And at the end, here he comes. It's like, you know, I mean, like,
Dang. Yeah.
I've been driving my tail off all day long, and here comes this damn tube truck, you know, or whatever. So that is the thing that is kind of like that's it's not right, but you have to get used to. But the biggest thing that I tell people is everything that I have raced and so forth, I'm used to a feel. I'm used to a feel. Whether it's this, whether it's that, whether it's just the whole side, I mean, everything.
That seat of your pants.
Right. iRacing is just here.
Yeah.
I'm looking. So it's easy to get, I lost it. You know, it's easy to do that because you're in traffic and you're doing it. Because what I'm used to is like, I'm just a little bit free behind guys, or I'm a little bit free when somebody's on my tail. On this, you really can't tell. And a lot of my friends who do the local late models and all the other stuff that come to do the iRacing, they'll say the same thing. It's hard for them to adapt because of the tire wear and some of the setup stuff, and then also too they don't have that feel. So
it's definitely interesting hearing you saying that, and not throwing you in the bag of the rest of us being old farts out here doing this, but honestly, the guys that are older that raced with you in that era, you put them on the sim and they look at you and they don't have any success. They're slower. But I will tell you, Bobby Hamilton Jr. is pretty ballistic out there. You're going to get a legit guy that's racing on the sim. And it's going to give you hell every time you race against him out there, just like you did on the real racing track. But it's interesting to see that Bobby's the success he has and carrying it over from the track and racing with him. But what he definitely is saying is definitely true. I see a lot of guys that jump on there and being friends with Kenny Wallace and Kenny Schrader. I mean, Schrader looks at that thing and runs the other way because that thing ain't real. I ain't sitting down there. It's interesting to see that you don't see a lot of those guys. Some of the younger guys, of course. I mean, it's a different world, like you guys say all the time. Racing is different. These guys come off the sim into the real cars now.
Right. That's a good point.
You don't see a lot of it going backwards where the guys that are getting out of the cars that are sitting at the sim and having the success. Not sure for what reasons, but Bobby is one of them that's very successful and does well with it.
Well, I had to stop. I had to sit there and think of like in the setup leagues and stuff like that. I had to stop. I had to go download papers. One of my little cabinets back here is full of setup stuff, of ideas and what you do for this and that, because okay, that didn't work. Okay, this didn't work. Okay, now you're loading Motec. Now you're loading all this stuff to get your ride heights and stuff. And you're thinking that doesn't even make no sense. So I had to stop, get out of the thing of saying this is how it's supposed to be, and say, wait a minute, this is how this game works. You know, and
so basically just relearning.
Relearning, yeah, and you will not believe when I race against people. People expect me to be like up here because I've done it. And I'm telling them like, hell no. Some of these places I'll go and I'm decently fast, but there. I mean, like for instance, with you and David Bradford, you know this, Neil. I mean, y'all two are the best as far as saving time. I cannot get that down. I've tried and tried and tried, but like my ego is like, they're getting away. I gotta go. You know what I mean? And before I know it, I done burnt my stuff up, and here you guys come, and then I'm hanging on for life. You know, so I just had to relearn. I had to stop thinking of how it should be, and this is what I got. This is what I got. This is how this game is supposed to work.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and the same thing. I mean, when I got on the sim and started racing, I flipped the switches on, turned the green flag out, throw it out there, and take off, and let's top fuel, and let's do some qualifying laps, get out there and kick everybody's ass. And 10 laps later, you were getting your ass kicked. But just one of those things where you do learn from some good guys out there. David Bradford, one of the best guys out there, and the guy right above me here, Brian McCann. I mean, it's racing with guys like that I call more or less tire whisperers. Those are the guys that you try to absorb as much as you can. I mean, I kind of laugh about it because of the notes you say you have. I have the same thing, and it sits here right next to me. It's a notebook full of notes and just knowing things and trying things and marking down what works and then equating that over to getting better. But it's interesting to see you putting the same tools that you've learned in real racing and same thing in iRacing.
And it's weird. It's almost like the kart guys are killer fast on these things. It seems like all these little kart guys that you run against or whatever, if you hear about them running karts, they're like, or you see somebody who's really, really fast, but they race karts. Like
I've noticed that too. David Bradford kart,
Yeah,
Brian McCann
yeah,
kart,
kart,
IK
yeah,
from
and
kart.
yeah, I don't know if it's because they're just used to. I don't know. I've never raced karts before, so I mean I don't know. But I mean it's so. I figured we can race. I'm gonna make it as hard as on you as I can. I'm not gonna run over you. But I'm not. I'm that guy that you hate because I'm on your door and I dare you to get up a little bit more because we're going to hit. Don't hit me. Don't hit me. All right, we made it through there. I'm trying to get you to burn your stuff up past me because I already killed my shit. I'm done. So that's what I'm trying to get you to do. So I mean, it is, but it's weird because like those little cart guys, they just I don't. Once again, I don't understand it because they have a feel, but yeah, they get on this game and they just take off. So something I'm missing, I guess.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, some of my best iRaces that I've had, of course, have been with Bobby. So, and of course Brian and everybody in here. But Bobby's a real competitor out there, and didn't take me long to understand how big of a competitor and how much it is for him to have success out there.
So I've got a question. Or go ahead.
I was going to say we have a history.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. I mean, is there anybody out there on iRacing you race a little bit different? I know I'm in that category.
I'll race you no different. I just expect it now. At first, I was thinking, oh, he's you know, I can trust him down there. Now I'm thinking, oh shit, here we go. But no, I mean, and I'm gonna be honest with you. I try not to hold grudges because I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm horrible with names. I can be like that Neil Quick guy. I'm gonna get him somewhere down the line. I'm gonna get him, and it's like I just forget because it ain't that big of a deal. So it's just fun. But it is easy, especially when you do these leagues and everything, and you're giving away banners and trophies and rings and crap. Yeah. It's almost like I will go to bed. I will go get in bed, and I will just be sitting there tossing, turning. My wife said, "You know what? Y'all better start changing the time of these races because I'm tired of hearing you in here." You know, because I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, you know what? I should have just turned his ass, or I should have just done that. I should have just done that, and all through the night. And I wake up thinking about, you know what I'm going to do next time. So I mean, it's easy because I'm competitive. So and I can tell everybody who's fast.
It's no different for all of us. Yeah, it's the
Right.
same thing.
It's
We've all been there.
exactly the same. What'd you have, Kyle?
So, Bobby, with given your background of having actual auto racing experience, and now you're on the sim, what do you get out of iRacing from Is it just a mental satisfaction, or what we got going on there?
Well, for one, whenever I put new tires on, it don't cost me anything. Whenever I rear clips on it, don't cost me anything.
You were in there fixing it.
Yeah. Exactly. And when I get done with it, I ain't got to go to an appearance. I ain't got to jump on a plane and go home. I'm home. So that is one thing I really do like. Plus, I get my feel of racing because you are competing with other people. But I like the challenge, and that's the only thing that we're talking about with the league that we were talking about before we came on is, I want to build something as real as possible to kind of bring all my experiences to here. Whether, because I've talked to Neil about it 100 times about different things that you could do and stuff like that because, I want it to be, and the good thing about having long relationships that we've had is like you get to meet people. Well, like Dr. Pepper, they still send me cases of Dr. Pepper. Ty still sends me cases of Ty. I mean, you just build these relationships with people, and I want to bring that stuff here. So, one day, one way we'll get it right, but at the same time, but the whole goal is just to get on here and to fix that itch because my ass is too old to go out there and get I'm not getting hurt no more for that stuff. My knees are bad, and I don't want to have the hits no more. So sitting on iRacing, the worst case, it just knocks my Gatorade bottle off whenever I hit the fence, and it shakes so much from the steering wheel. That's the worst case. So, but I enjoy it, and I can unplug it. I can turn the power off, not think about racing. When I did it for real, it was a lifestyle. So now I can just, click off and I'm done with it.
Absolutely. Yeah, that makes sense. What, Brian?
So you were talking about your iRacing there, and you said the feel. Tell us a little bit more about your rig. Are you just talking about the force feedback in the wheel, or do you have like a butt kicker? What do you got going on?
Yeah, I actually built my rig as far as I have like the dash and all the buttons and all that crap. I wanted to sit down in my rig, just like I did in my cockpit of my race car. And like I sit with my legs all folded up and everything like I did for real. And I have the DD2, and I got all that stuff set up. So we all know how the force is on that. The butt kickers, I've tried that stuff. I didn't like it because it was, I don't know, it just kind of like throw me off because it was, and I actually thought about buying one of the motion things, but I was like, I'm not spending that kind of money on. And there's guys out there who kick my tail every day in the cheapest little rig that they can do. And I'm thinking I'm buying all this high dollar crap for nothing because this guy's sitting on a damn old coffee can kicking my butt, and I'm thinking I need to pick me up. The rig ain't going to help. So
we're pretty used to that. That guy and Brian McCann right there racing on a freaking 2x4. He's building his rig right now and just
I see construction
basically whips
yeah.
all
I'm
of us.
fixing that.
Yeah, and
No more.
It's amazing to see, and it's like I tell people, yeah, it's nice to have. This is how I've always looked at iRacing, kind of like racing.
Yeah.
When I had Ford, we had Ford money. When I had Robert Yates Motors, we had Robert Yates Motors.
Mm-hmm.
When we had Harold Hawley, we had a championship crew chief, and he brought all these people. I knew when I strapped in that race car, we had the best stuff we can get, and it showed. The results showed. So when iRacing, it was easy for me to sit there and think, okay, what's everybody got? Whoa, you got to get this steering wheel, you got to get this pedal, because in my mind, I'm thinking, all right, I have the same pedal. I have the same motor as you.
Yep.
I had the same body as you. I had the same crew chief and the same crew as you. So where are you beating me at? And so it was easy for me to sit there and think, okay, so I need the best of everything. So you go out and buy it. And once again, that guy with the 1972 G29 kicking the shit out of you every week. You're thinking, what in the world? And it's all because of the know-how. So
I was the same way. I went out and spent mega money. I thought the best stuff you can get. Well, a lot of it, and I still get killed.
Yeah, and I still talk to Dale Jr. every now and then about this whole iRacing stuff, and he was telling me, he said, well, they got this steering wheel, it's got hydraulic stuff, it just got a feel, and I'm like, nah.
The guy with the thrustmaster are going to outrun you.
Exactly, and it was, and that's another reason why a lot of these guys like running the restrictor plate stuff, because there's not a whole lot of technique to it. It's just a draft, and if you can get the right help, and people like him, people's going to follow him. The same thing they did with his dad. They knew the 3 car was going to go to the front.
Yeah.
So the minute he passes you, you're going to follow him because he's going to go to the front. So he always had help. So if Dale Jr.'s on here and he's running Talladega, everybody's going to follow him, because they want to help Dale Jr. So that's a lot of reason why a lot of these guys go to these places. And me, I just fell into it. I was buying damn button boxes and pedal this and that and the steering wheels of this and loading all this stuff, Motec, and buying all these high dollar sets and still 23rd. So I was like, oh, yes. So it was between the monkey was the problem between the steering wheel and the gas pedal, and it was me.
What are you up to now, man? What do you got going on?
Well, I have rental property now. I've always had it, but that's what we do now. And when my daughter was born, I was really at the end of my career, and I wanted to be done because I wanted to be home. And fortunate enough, we were able to do that. And when my dad passed away, it had rental property all in through the estate and all that stuff, and basically took that over and been doing that ever since. I like it. It's good. It's easy. I like the schedule because it's not real demanding. I can go to all her ball games and stuff. I coach middle school baseball, and
I was going to ask you that. I follow you on Facebook quite a bit. It looks like you're doing some coaching, man. That's pretty cool.
And I'm big into the booster. I'm on the booster clubs for these things, raising money for them and stuff. Me and my wife were one of the head people in the booster for the GAC club as far as raising money for the football teams and stuff. And And people's like, why in the world you want to? I was like, it's giving back, man.
Yeah.
I said, it's giving back because, some of the, I have an opportunity to do it, and you won't believe the friends I made doing it.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, it's like true friends. It ain't the friends that come to
Right.
parties, eat up all
Yep.
your damn chips and drink all your liquor. I'm talking about true friends that you need something, they're there. And because in the racing world, the bigger you are, the bigger parties are. And then when you get out of that stuff, you realize how many friends you got. And
Yeah.
doing this stuff and teaching these kids and working with them and stuff, I mean, it's I enjoy it.
Full circle, man. That's
Oh yeah.
yeah.
I tell everybody I say I do rental property to pay for all my ball stuff, so it's it's fun, and I like the entertainment of it. I like to see the kids grow and learn stuff, and where I played ball all my life before racing. So, and then I like to being able to, we're in the process now of building new concession stand and bathrooms, and we're doing different things to raise money for it. I like getting closer to that goal and knowing
Yeah.
that I helped with that. So,
Yeah. Well, that's really cool, man. Interesting.
Well, I'm going to work us into our last part here of this next segment of questions here, and ask Bobby. Got a segment here called Green Flag, Black Flag. Got just a couple questions that we throw out there. Green flag if you agree with it. Black flag if you disagree, and honestly, kind of throw your opinion out on that part too. And I know you'll have an opinion on that part. But yeah, just must start it off. The first question we're going to go with is from today's race. 23 to go. NASCAR not calling it a rain race with 23 to go. Green flag or black flag?
green flag.
Green flag. I would have to agree with that. I would. You got a chase race implication. You got to go green flag. You got to finish this up. As you see, it made a big difference. Yeah.
I mean,
Ryan Blaney. Same deal. Yep.
I want to now. If this would have been earlier in the season, out of there. You can't put guys in a spot and take it away from them, and it worked.
Yeah,
out.
absolutely.
So green flag on that 100%.
Brian McCann.
Oh, I forgot my flags. Damn.
Oh no. Yeah, I mean you got to throw the green flag here. I mean, come on, where you at, Brian? Reek?
They're upstairs. They're there.
All right.
Here.
Well, Brian McCann went green flag. So what are you going?
Me?
Yeah.
All right. So I got to admit to you guys, I was pissed off. I'm like, how did NASCAR not throw the caution? So I was black flag at first. I watched it, heard some more commentary that, they didn't know within 100 yards that the track was wet or, so I'm green flag. It was the right thing to do.
Kyle?
I'm going to go green flag as well.
Man, everybody's got their flags. Damn it.
Well, and I think this was pretty well given. I mean, everybody wanted to see the race finish, and everybody had their fair chances. And if you call it and call the race at that point, there's a lot of question marks still, and NASCAR could come out with a black eye. So, I think that's pretty understood. I'm gonna work our way into a couple other questions, and I know I've got them lined up here, but I'm gonna go a little bit off of question 3 before 2. Restrictor plate racing at Daytona and Talladega, does it need to change? Red? Our green flag, black flag, and can we expand thoughts on that? I mean, after today, there's a lot of car owners sitting at home tonight on the way home, flying home, that are looking at piles of junk for race cars. Would you like to see some changes made in restrictor plate racing, and what those could be?
No, we go into that place knowing, and I'm saying this being in the sport. That's another reason why you get so much damn money. You're going to tear up cars. It's just part of it. I mean, and bottom line is, no matter what situation we're in, that's why the fans are everywhere around there. That place, Talladega, and those type of places. The car, it is what it is. You can't change it. Because if you go back and look to the way the racing is now, compared to the way it was back in the 90s, it's way different now. It's more entertaining than it was. Go back and watch the 90s. You never, like you see a guy pull out, nobody would go to block it. They would let him go. Now they're pushing, beating, banging. You have no idea. Look who won the race. This guy was running 15th. Don't get me wrong, the storm helped with that, but no. Matter of fact, I'd open up where they get bigger runs. That way they can start really beating the crap out of each other. I mean, it's a show. That's what it's for.
Yeah.
So
So
throw,
you
And
just leave it alone.
throw some COT power
Leave
at
it
it.
alone.
And I'm totally on the opposite. Scrap what we got. I hate it. I mean, I'm a Bobby Hamilton Jr. fan. He's got crashed out on lap 10 of the day's race. I don't want to go see that. I don't want to go spend my money on hotel rooms and be there all weekend to watch my favorite driver load up and be gone and at home before I am. I'd like to go see racing. I don't want to go see a junk pile of cars on the back straightaway. And that happened too many times today. And it happened a lot in the Xfinity race too that went till 1:30 in the morning.
I think as a race fan, and I'm gonna say this, you're there for the party anyway.
Yeah.
You're there for the experience. You're there for the vacation. You're there for whatever the reason you're there for. Yes, your guy got wrecked. I understand that, but it's the experience of everything.
Right.
And another thing too, the whole rain thing. I've been in those situations before. You can't stop that. How many times we've been out cutting grass? Like, where the hell does rain come from? I
Right.
mean, just starts, and
you can't. The weather's a tough deal.
You can't fix that. But I think as a fan, that's why they keep coming back. Because if they came back every time they got disappointed about their driver, there wouldn't be nobody in there but Chase Elliott fans or whoever. I mean, it's
a good point.
It's the adventure. It's the party. It's the vacation. It's the time being there, the experience.
Well, and it goes back to, so Tony Stewart had a good interview, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago about, being a car owner and going to Talladega, Daytona, and how an owner hates it. They completely just hate going to a restrictor plate race because they know that they're going to come back with at least 1 or 2 or more torn up cars, and it's just another check they have to write. So, for an owner standpoint, yeah, it sucks. I'm not going to lie. I'm not in their shoes, but I can understand why it sucks. But for a fan, I mean, it's good racing. I mean, it brings excitement, and that's what, like Bobby was saying, we're there for the party of it.
Gives you something to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
also-
can definitely understand that part.
And don't let them fool you. I know when I was running, we would turn our oldest cars into speedway cars. Raise the rear frames up, hang a speedway body on it, and if something happened to it, oh well. But that's another reason why. I mean, that's the reason why sponsorships are so high. You go into every race prepared to lose every car. That's how you set your budget. Go in there and figure losing 1 car per week, then your payroll, then your bills and everything else. That's what your budget's for. So
That makes sense.
yeah. So to me, I don't feel sorry for him. I've been there. I've seen it from both sides. My dad's been there. He's owned stuff. He's owned whatever. I mean, and that was just part of the gamble.
Yeah. What do you think, McCann?
I like the racing. I like, how it went. Like I said, it gives you something to talk about. And as a driver, I understand that angle, or as an owner. So I agree with everything everybody said here.
Okay, jumping back to question 2, which is now our question number 3. Kyle Busch leaving JGR. Is that a green flag for JGR or a black flag? And then the second part of this question is going to be a vice versa question, meaning that we'll attack the Kyle Busch first. Kyle Busch part first. Is it a green flag or a black flag for JGR?
Black meaning bad.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes,
It's a black flag.
it's a black flag being bad for JGR.
Yeah. And I think the kid they're going to put in there he's going to be tremendous. He is. He's going to be a good one. He's going to be
Superstar. Yeah.
but it's going to be some growing pains. And I don't think Coach has got the years left in him to be there the whole the extended time.
I agree with that.
They got
Yeah,
the
it's kind
money.
of interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting thought. I mean, I was kind of thinking that after seeing Coach today, the timeline
Yeah.
that he'd be there, and
Yeah.
that organization is going to be going through some changes.
Right. So I go with black flag. I think it's going to hurt them to lose him.
Brian McCann.
No opinion.
Oh wow!
Oh.
Wow.
Ooh, we're splitting down the middle there, huh?
I think I mean, the obvious thing would be a black flag at any time you lose a Kyle Busch caliber driver that is going to hurt your organization. However, I think I think the kid's going to be phenomenal. I think that he will jump if that's what's going on, if that's what's going to happen. That kid's going to be phenomenal, and they'll pick up. I think they're going to be okay. So I don't know. I'm the blue and yellow flag at that. I don't.
Yeah, I'm gonna go a little bit with kind of opposite of you guys on this deal. I think it's gonna be a green flag situation for him, and not just to do this out of spite. I just think it's probably like what Bobby says. There's an organization over there that's going to be going through some drastic changes with different people running it, and I think their selling point of getting sponsorships and growing the organization is probably a little bit easier to do with a younger driver like. The Gibbs kid that's coming in there. And it might come back and bite him. Who knows? It's a big risk, a big gamble. But kind of leading us into the second part of this question. So that being thrown out there, but before I do that, I want to ask Kyle's opinion on this too.
So I'm actually going to go green flag on it as well. I myself, I'm not a Kyle Busch fan. I'll go ahead and throw that out there right now. And when I listen to his interviews and the way that he's been about this whole contract negotiation this season, and just everything he says, I mean, as an organization, I'm going to be better off without you because I don't have to deal with that in the future, at least from that driver. You don't have to deal with all the scrutiny from everybody. So I think it's green flag for JGR. They're losing, honestly, I think, a pimple on their back.
Interesting. Kind of drawing down the line there. And then turn this around for Kyle Busch himself. Green flag, a black flag, leaving JGR. Start with Bobby again.
There you go.
Yeah, I think it's black flag for him too, because there's not many. He's done been the Hendrick route. They don't want him. He's done been there. They done got rid of him. So there's not too many teams out there the caliber of what Gibbs is. And let's face it. I'm not saying you get to a point where you do lose things, but at the same, you do get to a point where you lose things. Yeah. And I think it's going to be, it's going to take somebody like the 16 or 31 Collick, who's got the money to pay for his skill right now. But I think he'll feel the growing pains too, because Gibbs, Hendrick, those two are the biggest, and I'm going to be like the one car 99. Everybody talks about them being great. I think they're just, if you pay attention now, everybody's caught up to them. So your Hendrick
completely agree.
Yeah. Your Hendrick teams, your Penske team. Penske's still struggling, but at the same time, it's going to be hard for Kyle to get into something to be where he straps in and he knows 100% the car is good. And I think he's on that spiral because we all start with something really good. Then when we get to that age, we get in something that's half-assed, and then you get in something that's really bad and you're ready to retire. So I think he's going to get into that half-ass area to where it's just like they're struggling building a team. So black flag for him too.
Definitely can see that. Brian McCann.
I'm going to have to ditto off of what Kyle and Bobby said there. Kyle was talking about that pimple or whatever. I forget what he said, but
pimple on their back.
Not a big Kyle fan myself, so that hurts him. But just like Bobby says, going to another team, picking up, having to relearn, get in touch with everybody, get in touch with the car. I mean, that's a black flag for me.
Right, Rick.
I think that I think Kyle Busch, if you listen to his interviews here lately, they've changed. His tone's changed. He's changed, so I think he knows that he effed up. All right.
It's a PR stunt.
Yeah, well, could be, but I think he knows so maybe. But I also think that Kyle Busch, as oddly and crazy as sound, needs a change, so to speak. I think that I don't know, Bobby. I feel like sometimes drivers get stagnant. It's the same spot. Maybe I'm completely wrong. So I'm a green flag at Kyle Busch. I think he'll be okay. I think he's got the talent to, and I think Toyota's. I'm not even going to say. I don't know. Green flag with Kyle Busch.
Kyle?
I'm gonna have to go black flag on this one, and it goes along, with just for the fact that here he is, he's leaving JGR, he's going to a new team, possibly a new manufacturer. No one knows for sure yet what his path is. So, like other people were saying, is there's going to be that learning pain there of having to adjust and try to take over something that you're not 100% familiar with. So I don't know how these Cup cars drive between a Chevy, a Toyota, and a Ford, but I'm sure they don't drive identically the same regardless who sets them up or how they're set up. So he's going to have to take that into consideration. I think he's going to have those growing pains for at least the first year or two, and then he might be able to step up and, be a dominant factor.
I think we're going to get a bombshell announcement, and it's I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, and I think you might be right with that. I think you're going to have a bombshell announcement, but I think my opinion and where I'm at with this deal, it's a black flag, stick a fork in him, he's done. I mean, my opinion is, I know I've talked to a couple of you guys about this, but and just like Bobby said, I mean, you go into a situation as a driver, and Kyle's kind of laid out an outline of what he really wants to do because he's trying to sell himself, I think, is the PR move, trying to sell somebody to come close to getting something to get him into that deal. And he might get lucky, and if he does, he ends up with a colleague type team and might have a little bit of success there. But I think it's over. I mean, this sport has changed so drastic, and the youth is the drive for it right now. So I really think that's the case. I don't know if you're going to see Kyle Busch have any success anymore from here on out. And I know it's a bold statement, and I'm sure we're probably going to get some hate mail on that one.
Right.
But yeah, just for what it's worth. So, but yeah, I'll throw it back after this to Kyle and let him kind of jump back in where I've kind of jumped over a couple things on the notes here.
That's all right. Actually, we're going to go ahead and we're going to get into our picks for the playoffs real quick. And Bobby, you're more welcome to stick around if you like, or if you need to go. It's totally up to you.
I'm not doing nothing. Yeah, I'm sitting there petting my dog.
All right. All right. So, yeah.
I'm trying to get my printer to work so I can get my picks ready.
All right, guys. So if y'all go into your all's Google Drive there, you all will see the list of drivers. I'm sorry, Bobby, I don't have one available for you.
I'm fine.
And I'm going to go ahead and give a rundown for not only you guys, but also for the viewer or the listeners to understand our sheet here. So there is a spreadsheet here. Top line is going to be the tracks. First two tracks are the first two of each round. Third track in red is going to be the cutoff race. And then Phoenix is in blue because it's a championship race. And then on the left-hand side is going to be all of our names. And then below that, you will see your own name in red with the yellow background. All the drivers in blue lettering and with a reddish background are your or your playoff drivers. The rest are just your from 17th on down. So you can choose any one of your drivers from either side. When you choose them, I will place your name next to that driver or next to your name under that track, and then we will mark it out on the available list, and you will not be able to choose them for the rest of the season.
Ooh.
That's going to be tough.
So we'll go in order of the list here. We won't have a pick for Chris, so we're going to let Bobby, if you're aware of the top 16, or even the rest of the drivers, you're more welcome to pick for Chris this week.
Ooh.
So we'll start with Neil. Whenever you're ready, sir, we will take your pick for Darlington.
Skip over me for a second. I just wiped this thing out for a second.
Oh, all right. Brian Rick.
Oh, I'm up.
Yep.
Arlington. I'm gonna take, and I can't pick him the rest of the year.
Rest of the year. Actually, we will reset them on the Phoenix race.
Okay, but still, so I can't pick him again until the last race.
Nope, you only get one pick for the playoffs. Other than Phoenix.
LaJoy.
You want LaJoy?
Yeah.
All right. So my pick will be. Let's see, we're going Darlington. So, I'm gonna go with Cindric.
Damn, you went the left side of the column?
Yep. Brian McCann.
Briscoe.
Oh, man. Good one.
All right. Bobby, we'll let you choose for Chris. You can choose any one of the drivers you want that's currently running.
Logano.
You want Logano?
I feel like that's like insider information right there.
I was going off with the last race.
And then Neil Quick.
Anybody pick Harvick yet?
No.
I wanted to, but you can't take him the rest of the year.
I think you'll be safe with it.
I'm good.
No.
You want Harvick?
Yeah.
All right. Picks are locked in. Who's ready for Darlington now?
I'm going to change mine.
Too late.
Oh, God.
I done said they're locked in. All right.
No, hey, we got Rain LaJoy on a couple weeks, so I'm Corey fan right now.
There you go. There you go. All right. So now that the picks are over with, let's go ahead and Neil, you had briefly posted some items about over the weekend, some dirt races. You want to go and give us a little rundown of that?
Yeah, just kind of a recap, something we're adding to the podcast each week, and just kind of give everybody kind of a rundown of this past weekend's events. Kind of jump over here. Let me go in. But yeah, we're going to start out with the World of Outlaw Sprint Car Series. I know up at Friday night, River Cities, Brad Sweet picked up a win. His fourth victory of the season. I know Saturday night, Carson Macedo come back and grab that one. Really good up north trip for the Outlaws. Right before they head out west, they're heading out towards Washington State for Skagit and then California West Coast trip. But that's kind of the rundown from this weekend on the World of Outlaw Sprint Car guys. The late models were in Davenport, Iowa for the World of Outlaw Late Model Series, and the High Side Hustler, Jason Fager from Bloomington, Illinois, kind of got out there and broke through with a win on Thursday night. And then Tanner English, driving for Riggs Motorsports, came through and ended up getting a win Friday night and Saturday night. So good for him. He got his first win for the World of Outlaw Series on Friday night. So good deal for him, picking up 2 wins over the weekend. And then kind of in the USAC Sprint Car Series, they were at Kokomo, Indiana for the SmackDown. Kind of a unique series or unique event where they have kind of a King of the Hill challenge deal to line up for Saturday night. Big win for Kyle Cummins, led all 40 laps of it. Ended up basically getting a $15,000 payday, and they had lap money for each lap. Ended up collecting a cool $35,000 total for his victory over there. And Kyle's been such a bridesmaid over there. I think he had 4 times second place finishes and ended up getting his first SmackDown over the weekend. So good for him. And then definitely on the NASCAR side today, we definitely saw that Austin Dillon punched his ticket. And then congratulations to Jeremy Clemens on his win at Daytona. Small team kind of overcoming adversity and getting the win there at early Saturday morning. So there's just kind of a brief rundown of some races and wins over the weekend.
Hey, I want to touch on that real quick. Davenport World of Outlaw Late Models. Want to give a big shout out to the Gundecker boys, Trevor and Gordy Spartan's part of that team, and they both made the World of Outlaw features up there. Trevor, they all did really good. So hats off to those boys.
Yeah, congrats, local boys from the St. Louis area here.
Yes, sir. Out.
All right. So with that, I want to say thank you to Bobby for being here for this interview. We're going to cut into 2 of our ads real quick. We got R&R Racewear and Sim Coaches. We will be right back. R&R Racewear, your source to all custom racewear apparel needs and home to iRacing apparel. Check it out today at rnrracewear.com. Let me take a minute to tell you about my experience using Sim Coaches pedals. I myself am a current owner of the Sim Coaches P1 pedal hydraulic pedals, and I have to say they have made my racing so much better and easier. And I highly recommend that you go and you check out these pedals and get a set for yourself as well. You'll find yourself able to get into the corner deeper, brake harder, exceed the limits that you normally would take. Don't take my word for it. Go check them out at simcoaches.com and use our promo code to get 5% off iRock at checkout, or visit simcoaches.com/iRock to receive your 5% off. Thank you. Alrighty, we are back. Oh, I gotta do some changing around here on this one. But we are gonna go and get into McCann's Garage Talk.
Yeah, so we had a week off last week, and coming up in the iRock Challenge Series here, going to Talladega this week. I just wanted to talk a little bit about pit roads. This isn't so much of a tip. This is more of an open discussion, I would say. Pit road strategy. Last time we went to Daytona, I didn't take tires at all, and that ended up hurting me at the end of the race. Going through the trial was getting a little loose on me. I've never really experienced that before, but I also don't drive the B-class car much. Is it going to be an issue for Talladega? I'm not sure. I'm going to have to do some testing. One thing I did want to bring up, though, is brake bias and pitting under green flag conditions. Just wondering what y'all kind of do. Do you do testing for that? I know one thing I do is I make sure I test on older tires, because on newer tires, it can be a little bit different sometimes.
Go ahead there, Neil.
Yeah, I'm kind of like Brian, the same thing. I kind of try not to pit, try to save tires all the time. But as tires go, and kind of laughing with you guys here a little bit, just a little side thing going on with Bobby here. But we're talking about tires, and he sent me over text pictures of guys rolling over on pace laps before races. But tires, I again try to conserve as much as I can, and especially at Daytona, I know I've been there where I haven't pitted and had the same effect what Brian did, kind of chasing yourself through the tri-oval, and you can go a long time in most series, whether it's truck, Xfinity, but I'm gonna say try to give me some tires to finish up the race. But hopefully that answers a question.
It does. What about brake bias?
You know what? And me and you've talked about this a lot. And I've been at the stage where I've moved my brake bias really back a lot to get the car to rotate. And on my Tuesday night truck series, I find myself not doing that as much, and finding out that I'm having a lot more success in a situation where I would be pushing the limit and be backed all the way down, moving the brakes to the rear. I've been running about 60 to 62% in the truck on Tuesday nights, and finding out it works really good, especially with the trucks, using a couple different techniques. I know the shifting point. I don't know if we've talked about that yet tonight, but using a shifting point on some of these tracks gets the truck to rotate and get it off the right front a little bit, putting it on the right rear more, so you're not using the right front tire up as much. But again, shifting points and just finding a balance. When I had too much rear brake balance, I'd be going to the corner and chasing the tail end a little bit, and then it would push out on the front. I found myself using more tire. So the happy balance for myself, I've been staying between 60 62%, and that's on the truck series. On Xfinity car, a little bit more, maybe 63 64 sometimes.
What I just watched.
I said him the same thing, Neil.
That's good stuff.
Yeah, we got just kind of a side thing going on here. We all have that guy, I guess, but we have a legend in our midst out there that has raced with several of us guys, and And I'm going to tell you, it brings up a question for all you guys out there, viewership-wise. How many of you guys have actually found yourself on a pace lap before a race, warming tires, and managed to flip a car over? Because I must say, it's very rare. But we have video proof of it.
I just watched it. I mean, that's like, yeah, amazing.
That video come from our very own short track king, Jeff Napier.
Oh boy.
Yeah, he is disastrous at short tracks. I don't know how many times he's took you out, Neil.
He has, and it's not by Jeff doing it intentionally either. I mean, this is, like I said, we all have that guy every once in a while. But yeah, we'll have to see if we can get Kyle to upload this video. This will definitely be something even for everybody to have a good laugh at.
I am playing it right now.
Put it up.
There you go. Put it up.
There we go. We'll put it on loop for a little bit.
And I'll be real honest, that wasn't a tire issue or a brake bias issue or anything. That was a Jeff Napier issue.
I was going to answer Brian's question here. I'm terrible at pit stops. I don't know jack shit about brake bias. I just do what everybody else tells me to do.
I have found out if I put rear brake to this on some of these tracks, it heats up my rear tires more.
Yeah.
And I start getting loose on the throttle more. So and then of course on the super speedways where you come down, I mean, I twist them to the front to a point where I don't slide the tires, but where I can really get in there pretty hot. But I found more and more it's easier for me to just correct the issues by earlier lifting, trying to squirt through the middle and say, because when I put rear brake to it, it just burns my stuff up. It seems like I burn it up quicker.
Yeah.
And I know there are some guys that can do what that we're talking about, that can actually do a lot of rear brake, that can do really well to conserve tires and still be very fast. And I know I've chased Brian around, and he does a very good job at this. And I mean, the question I want to throw back at Brian for McCann's pit stop here in the future is how to get on and off pit road. Because I'm going to say, when you're chasing him, there are some times that I don't lose as much on the pit stop, inside the pit stop, but it's getting there or getting off chasing him.
To answer, well, there's two parts there. Leaving the pit stall, a good practice for that is, have you ever done drag racing and iRacing, where somebody launch a hosted session at
Sonoma?
Yeah. Yep.
And go on a drag strip? You learn a lot about how to take off from a pit stall doing that.
Wait a minute, they're drag racing? That's like they're hosted a drag race?
You haven't seen that?
It's fun.
No, I need to get on that.
We'll set one up one night.
Yeah, let's do it.
So that's where I learned how to get out of the pit stall quick. As far as getting out of the pit exit, that's a skill. I can't tell you how to do that.
Yeah, I'm terrible at it too.
Yeah, it's one of those things, man. If you can get that down, getting in and off pit road and having good pit stops, and makes a big difference. So.
Oh, it makes humongous difference.
Well, see, like for me, I can get onto pit road no problem on like a super speedway at race speed,
Yeah.
But you put me on intermediate or short track, and I'm garbage. Well, one short track on iRacing, 9 times out of 10, you're pitting because there's a caution.
Right.
You're very seldom getting green flag runs where you pit. Intermediates are hit or miss, but still, I don't have the skill set for an intermediate pit road entrance.
Same. I'm saying.
Have you ever headed down pit road, got a good run on pit road, and pitted in the wrong spot? There was no pit crew.
Oh yeah.
No, I usually blow by mine and wave at them as I'm sliding through the freaking pit stall.
You want me to tell you another quick story about the greatness?
Send this over to Bobby. I'm sure he can expand on this.
Okay, so Jeff Napier, the king of short tracks video that y'all just posted.
Is he the one flipping I'm watching right now?
That's the one, yeah. It's one that's flipping. So we're at Daytona, I think it is. We all get in a wreck, come down pit road, and I pull into my stall. Well, I see him like 10 stalls back. He goes forward. He goes forward, and he backs back up. He goes back out, comes back around, comes back in, and he starts way back there. And of course, we're all on Discord, and we was under caution. I was like, Jeff, what are you doing? he's like, I don't have no pit crew here. Like, you have to have a pit crew here. I said, it's not like they miss a flight. It's there. He said, I don't have no pit crew. I don't have no damn pit crew. I don't have a pit crew. So he went to every stall, but he had all of his graphics turned off.
Oh, shit.
And he had everything, so he kept missing the little bitty guy with the sign. So he just,
Oh, boy.
So he ran the whole race thinking, I ain't got no pit crew. Until he ran out of gas and ran out, I think he blew a tire or something. But it was like, that's what was a running joke before the flip video. So
Yeah, that's funny.
yeah.
I mean, we can make a whole episode of just Jeff Napier.
Up Jeff, yeah. Yeah, the short track king.
Alrighty. Well, I'm going to go ahead and throw us to our last sponsor, and then we're going to jump into final thoughts right after that. We'll be right back. Are you looking for the next sim rig upgrade? Or maybe your man cave needs a little more style? Or is your wife wanting to redecorate your home? Well, we here at Supreme 3D Printing have you covered. We create and print tons of different and useful items that is sure to fit everyone's style and budget. Check us out on Etsy at etsy.com/shop/Supreme 3D Printing. If you don't see what you're needing, then feel free to contact us for your needed item.
I'm Bobby Hamilton Jr., driver of the 25 Smithfield Ford.
Crowds on their feet.
Sorry about that. All right. With this, we are going to close things out now. Their final thoughts. Let's go ahead and start with our guest, Bobby Hamilton Jr. Got any final thoughts you want to throw in there?
No. Just glad it's finally worked out. Starting to wonder if I can get on here in time. Every time we line something up, I'd always screw up that. So appreciate you guys having me on here. I had no idea this was all the guys I used to race with. I was thinking, I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm absolutely awful with. I seen Neil's name. I was like, the hell is this? What's he in here? That's when I asked him, I was like, are you in here? And he's like, yeah. I was like, I quit. I'm not doing it. So yeah, I'm glad to be on here. Fun to catch up with all you guys and everything. Haven't seen you all in a while, and just enjoyed it.
Yeah, I remember seeing you in our league last for season 4.
Yeah, I like being over there. That's what I told Neil. I said, I'm done. I said, I got run over twice on pit road. I didn't do anything. I was coming down pit road and they wrecked or something. I was like, of course, I like the idea of no fast repairs and stuff. And I was like, I can't catch a break over there. And but yeah, it was all those guys were over there good. And I like the ideas, like you got, like I can see the trophy, the banners in the back and stuff. That keeps those guys coming back. I don't know how many times we've talked about that with Neil, about getting that for the scar stuff. I mean, that's cool stuff. That's the kind of stuff you hang on your trophies. I mean, in your trophy wall. So, but just glad to be here. I ain't seen you guys in a while, and enjoyed it.
All right, Brian McCann.
Yeah, and I'm glad to race with you. I think there was about 2 or 3 races I raced with you when you was in the IROC Challenge Series, and it's just been glad to talk to you and meet you and everything here today.
You too, man.
Alrighty, and Neil Quick.
Yeah, glad to have Bobby on here. I mean, it's great to be able to talk to him. Look at him over there. So, no, I'm gonna be real honest with you guys. It's awesome to have this platform to be able to go out and race with drivers that you're fans of, and you get to meet them and have a relationship and have guys that are fun to race with. And I'm gonna tell you, been a pleasure to race with Bobby. You get to know him. Get to hear all the stories. Being a racing fan myself, it's pretty incredible to have this platform and this opportunity. And glad he jumped on the show tonight. And we got to discuss some of the racing and some of his endeavors throughout racing on iRacing and through real racing. So, but thank you very much, and thought it was a good show.
And Brian Rick.
Yeah. Hey, man, Bobby, really thank you for coming on the show. I was really looking forward to hearing about your life, your stories, and you know, growing up with your dad, and so I enjoy that. I enjoyed racing iRacing with you when we can, and just thank you, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, man, appreciate it, y'all guys.
Alrighty, and I'm gonna go ahead and close this out here real quick. I want to say thank you to Bobby once again. It's been a pleasure, man. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm glad we get our schedules to line up to where you can get out here on the show and do this interview. But for my final thought is be sure to go follow us on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. You can find us there. Please be sure to subscribe to all of those on the podcast platforms. Be sure to subscribe, like, rate, review, everything you can do there. We greatly appreciate it. And on YouTube as well, be sure to like and subscribe and share. Facebook as well. Share with your friends, please. It really helps us get out there to more viewers that would thoroughly enjoy this content here. So with that being said, I appreciate every single one of y'all for watching and listening. We will see you all later.
Get up on your feet, this is a shakedown. Order up that beat just like it's takeout.